It's very interesting to see that at our stage, we have more than 30,000 artists using the platform currently. And what we noticed is that we can address very different stages of the artist development with the product that we are offering.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the music platform category. I'm super excited to be chatting with Romain. He's the co-founder of Groover. Romain, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, just to give the audience a little bit more context of why we're having this interview, we looked at well over 170 companies we could categorize in the music platforms or software for the music industry. And one of the companies that stood out to us was Groover. Their approach to enabling artists to really share and distribute and get noticed within the music community is actually quite unique. From the outside in, it's quite simple, but the reality is I think it's a really important tool to promote music in a way that I don't think it's what we've seen is scalable before. I think it's actually a really unique approach, and I'm super excited to have Romain here to chat a little bit more about it. Before we get into questions, Romain, I think you have a presentation that gives a good overview of who is Groover, and after that, we'll just jump and dive into questions. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds perfect. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very happy to present Groover. So we started Groover with the ambition and the mission to build one of the most transparent, efficient, and benevolent artist services company. So at the end, it's all about like providing the best services to the community of artists. Our vision on the long run is that the independent artist services are the future of the music industry, because we are in a market dynamics where it's way easier to produce your music. It's easier than ever. And also digital distribution has been a commodity over the past few years, because it's easier to distribute your music online, and it's easier to be on the streaming platforms, to be available, to be listened to as an artist. And also what we noticed is that independent artists aim to remain independent more and more because of the social dynamics of the streamings that are empowering artists to disintermediate the record labels. So it's very interesting to see that dynamic as well. And the consequence of that is that the music being released on Spotify and streaming platform has been growing very fast on the past few years. There are 40,000 songs being released every day on streaming platforms. So it's a huge amount of content. And also the number of independent artists in 2020 grew by 31%. So it's huge. And our take is that it puts pressures on the artists on the promotion side of the industry, because with more and more artists and more content being released, it's way more difficult to promote your music as an independent artist. And sometimes it can feel like sending a message in a bottle to promote your music. And the whole goal is basically to solve that issue. Because the current solutions for the music promotions just basically don't work anymore. Because as an artist or as a representative, you struggle to find the relevant curators, people that can influence the release. Also, sometimes you find them, but it's very difficult to get answer from them. So you reach out to them by email, but it's very tough to get answer. And also, as an artist or as a representative, you get very tired of the PR agency, sometimes because they are very costly and not always efficient. And on the other side, as a music curator, as a professional, you get so many songs in your inbox that it's very tough, and you get overwhelmed by artist requests. So that's why we created Groover, that is basically a marketplace where the artist and the representative submit their music to curators and pros. On the other side, the curators and the pros are discovering the music on a dashboard. They are listening to the songs, and each time they are providing a feedback to the artist community, whether they share the song or not. They get paid half of the amount spent by the artist to review the song. So they keep their full editorial independence. And for the artist, it's an insurance to be listened to and to get at least the feedback, and often more for sure promotion, coverage, and impact on the quality of the release. So all about this is about putting the connection between the artist and the curators and the pros at first. A short demo on the product and how it works. So basically, you choose what you want. So for instance, visibility and coverage. We personalize the selection for you. Then you choose the music curators, the pros, the people you want to send your music to. Then you send your release and you get feedback directly on your dashboard as an artist and potential coverage. So that's how the product works. And what we found interesting, and I think it's something that we will talk after, Kai, because it's something that we discussed before, but yeah, something that is interesting is that thanks to the product and thanks to the platform, we are able to discover a lot of very inspiring emerging artists that we want to promote a bit further and to build a strong connection with them. So that's why we build an accelerator of talents for the top emerging artists on the platform that we want to help even further. We have a short video that sums up that, so I will share it to you.
Groover Obsessions is the first continuous artist accelerator. We offer personalized support to our crushes, the most talented and dynamic musicians and bands detected on Groover. Let's discover the first Obsessions artist.
Pour moi, Groover Obsession, c'est une façon d'élargir le champ des possibles.
C'est un boost puissant, une équipe vraiment bienveillante et sincère.
These are great people who are truly passionate about music.
C'est vraiment l'opportunité de travailler avec une équipe qui a une vision complètement adaptée à ce qui se passe aujourd'hui dans la musique.
We give our time freely to advance the careers of the Obsessions artists. We adapt our actions to each project and get involved every day to make them go further. Groover Obsessions, the artist accelerator towards success.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, to sum up and to go further with the question, the idea is that the whole mission of Groover is basically to empower artists to get their music heard and to become an accelerator for their success.
Roman, that was an awesome review. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the live demo too. I think being able to see that process is fantastic. I'm excited about your platform in a lot of different ways, and I want to get into that a little bit later, especially on the last video that you shared. But it's really simple. If you, from the outside in, for an artist to really being able to share their music, they log into your platform and they're able to upload their music and share it with a variety of different labels, promoters, etc. Are you recommending, it seems like you recommend the right type of labels as they reach out to, or are you sending it to absolutely everybody? I'm just curious about this process. And on the flip side, do these labels or promoters, etc., do they have to listen to every song they receive and provide feedback?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, how it works on the product, it's that we really want to guide the artist or its representative to choose the best media and curators and professionals on the other side. How it works is that the artist, during the process of submitting the song, choose what he wants to do. So he chooses basically if he wants to gain visibility, coverage, or if he wants to find an industry partners like a label. So we have input on his side on what he wants to do with Groover. And also he completes some information about himself. So what is the music genres, what is the track, what is the type of music he is into. And what we are doing is, thanks to the data that we have on the media, on the radios, and the curators, we try to match them with the right artists. How it works is that the artists are guided and helped in the selection of media and curators so they can target the best one for them. And we build this kind of algorithm in-house that is helping the artists to select the right guys. And for the media and the radios and the curators on the other side, a whole bunch of influencers, we have 1,000 using the platform every day. The idea is that we need to have them listen to the song because the product is built on that insurance for the artist to be listened to. So we really guide them to be active on the platform. So they have an answer rate within the week that is important, because it's very important to ensure to the artist that he will get listened to and receive a feedback at the end of the week. What we are doing is that kind of every month or every week, actually, we are monitoring the activity of the media and the radios. That is in average around 85% of answer rate within the week. So it's huge. And we try to keep this metric as high as possible because we want the media and the radios to be as active as possible, obviously.
It's really incredible that you even mentioned this in the very beginning, seeing how there's this huge gradual push into more independent artists, and then at the same time that just drastically increases the volume of music, and that just makes the problem a lot harder for everybody in this whole space on just being noticed. And I'm curious, this has been one of the biggest challenges for new artists or artists that are just creating out new content that they want to share? And do you have examples about how your platform really benefited or helped an artist's career, or maybe you've made the right connections that have guided them in that right process?
Yeah, so actually providing value on the promotion side and helping the artist to get more than just a feedback, but also something valuable to connect with fans, to grow, to develop his community is one of the main goal of the platform for sure. So the kind of examples that we have is first and foremost for all the community of artists, we're trying to ensure to get some positive coverage at the end. So what we are doing is that we are monitoring the number of time the media, the radios are sharing the artist to some extent. So what we have currently is that we have an acceptance rate, which is basically how many times the media and the radios will broadcast the artist at the end. That is around 20%. So it's very interesting to see that the connection, the matching, and the guidance of the artist during the process of submission is something that works to some extent because we are ensuring to the global volume to get some positive acceptance and coverage in average to 20%. But to be more specific with some examples, what we have is that we have some artists that found their label thanks to Groover. So we have a lot of examples. We have an artist who just signed recently on the French record label that is a label made by Electroposé, which is a famous brand in France. We have also an artist who found his label that is called Kitsune Record thanks to Groover. So that's the high moments because we are helping a lot some artists with their industry partners. And we also have more and more artists that are being shared on radios, on medias every day. It comes to Radio France, to TikTok Playlist France, to a lot of media or curators that can influence the release. So we have a lot of strict sex story, and I think that the accelerator of artists, Groover Obsession, is one of the main flagships of artists that we want to see and to put further because we see that there are a lot of potential with them.
No, at baseline, to be able for an artist to get feedback from very important or very individuals in the industry, that opinion from them really does matter. And then at the same time being able to see that could also evolve into now their music is being played in different radio stations, or it could end up being a record or deal with a big label. And seeing that's almost 1 in 5 times that could happen if you just, and all of that is just at the push of a button. Incredible. I could have only imagined the process that artists would have to go through to achieve the exact same thing before Groover. I guess, how would you be able to call like hundreds, or in this case, you should email hundreds of, or even thousands of different types of individuals in the music industry just trying to get their attention, when I suppose a lot of times they just look past it. They're not even incentivized to give you any type of feedback or response. No, I think it's really cool. I think it's a really great tool. But the one thing that I'm really curious about, and I wanted to bring this up because you talked a little bit before, you are essentially a marketplace, and a marketplace at baseline for feedback. And I feel like that would be really tough because, and maybe not, I don't know, but when you're facilitating reviews on music, I can sometimes imagine artists may not be happy that for some reviews, or maybe labels or individuals that are reviewing the music may not provide the most in-depth or quality review. Do you experience that? And how do you manage that?
Yeah. So regarding like the quality of the feedback, because it's all about this at the end, because it's what we are ensuring on the platform, we are like monitoring a lot what is the feedback quality provided by our community of media and radios. What are we doing basically to monitor that? So first, we have a monitor process on the media and the radios community to see if there are like some complaints from customer support, from artists, from people using the product, and like seeing that the feedbacks are not that qualitative. So what we are doing is that basically we are vetting the whole community every month to be sure that we have the good feedbackers on the platform and people that providing value. So that's the first step. The other one is that we are tracking like with some automation process. So if there are some copy pasting on feedback, if we have something like that, we can flag that very soon. So it can be something that we can monitor after. And also one last thing is that we are currently pushing to production something where the artist can rate the feedback. So we have the input directly on the platform on what is the quality of the feedback provided by the media and the radios. So it's very important to be sure that the feedback can be, to some extent, qualitative enough for the artist to get a good experience on Groover. The value proposition that we offer on the product are diverse, as you mentioned it, because we are offering like an access to catalog. It's something huge. We are offering like the insurance to be listened to, the insurance to receive a feedback, and the potentiality of being coverage. So that's a process that is very diverse, because all the small value proposition in itself are valuable. But to deep dive in the feedback, it's something that needs to be seen with the right trigger and the right monitoring. And that's why we are like monitoring the way of providing feedback. And the last thing is that we are guiding all the media and the radios and the curators to provide the best feedback as possible. So we have like a small onboarding on the product where we are guiding them on how to provide the feedback, what is the kind of review you're doing to an artist, because sometimes it's important to communicate about the value behind it, because the value is to be benevolent, to be explicative, to be constructive as well on the music. So that's why we are putting this on the product as well.
I think it's incredible that you have a couple different processes to just continue to vet that quality. But even like you said, you've built a tool of trust that really enables artists to, at the end of the day, get noticed. And there's a huge amount of value in being able to give that assurance that like you're going to get noticed and it's going to be fair. And at the same time, you're going to get value out of it. It's going to be feedback. There could be upside potential that could take it even further. No, I just getting that first part is probably the most challenging in the new software.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Are most of the artists that are on your platform, are they brand new artists? Are they like professional artists? What is the mix?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because the kind of concept of new artists, professional artists, is difficult, because what we noticed is that sometimes artists that are very young, very new, they are doing it all by themselves, but they are like emerging very fast actually, because they know all the tools. They are very smart, very entrepreneurs of their own, working as their own managers. So they are very active in the way they are releasing music. Sometimes artists needs to have a team, PR, needs to have labels. And it's very interesting to see that at our stage, we have more than 30,000 artists using the platform currently. And what we notice is that we can address very different stages of the artist development with the product that we're offering. So currently we have 70% of the community that are DIY artists, so independent artists that are doing the release by themselves on Groover. So it can vary a lot. Sometimes it's really like their all new release. Sometimes they are artists with more background. It depends. And we have 30% of artist representatives, so labels, managers, PR officers, people that are doing and using Groover actually for their own artists as a complementary tool on what they are doing by themselves. So it's very interesting, and we are working with some of very inspiring labels in France or in internationally, actually, like Because Music or Touta, that are, you know, very strong brand, very strong record labels. And we are doing like campaigns with them that can be seen as a complementary tool for the bigger artists that can be additional services to what they are doing by themselves.
You have something that I noticed on when looking through, you know, your website, and you recruit influencers. Can you help us understand who are these influencers? What are they doing, and why are you recruiting them?
Yeah. So influencers basically is a very difficult wording that we're solving currently on the product, because when you think about influencers, you're thinking like very quickly to Instagram, to TikTok, that kind of influencer. But that's not what we are talking about. It's like a generic wording to connect with all the community of people that have an influence on a music release. So basically, with the word influencer, it means all the contact that we have. So media and pros, so curators and pros. How does it work? Basically, we have 3 types of contacts. So we have media, radios, blogs, playlists, people that are curators that can help like the visibility. We have industry partners, so labels, bookers, publishers, people that can be partners to the professional success or the career of the artist. And finally, we have mentors, so music producers, people that are managers, but can have feedback that is very important and very interesting in terms of music production. And all those 3 types are available in the product, and all of them, we call them the influencers of Groover. But that can be the curators and the pros. That's something that we currently changing, actually.
A lot of these individuals, they're the ones that are behind a lot of the feedback and the reviews as well. Okay. I like how you already mentioned in your slides a little bit, you touched on this aspect, but first I want to highlight, you do a lot to promote artists. And I like this, you have what you mentioned, the grander vision of helping and being a universal tool and service that can really help artists advance in their careers in a lot of different ways. And you do things like you have your own events. I like that you have like your own radio stations or playlists where you really highlight some of the new and emerging or really great content. It seems as though you have a tremendous amount of data as well on identifying what are some really interesting and exciting new artists or new content or music that's coming and moving forward, and which ones are even doing well and moving forward. I mean, can you share more about 2 things? One, the extra steps that you're doing to help promote some of the artists that you are on your platform, and 2, what are you doing with all this data? I think you highlighted a little bit of how that kind of enables some of the extra services, but I'm just curious on those 2 fronts.
Yeah, so basically, it's true that thanks to the platform, we are seeing some very inspiring artists thanks to the data, because we are seeing that artists are using the platform, they get positive feedback, they get interest. And it's very interesting because you want to do more for them because they have potential. Sometimes you want to promote even further. So yeah, the main event to answer to your first question is that we just released, like at the beginning of this year, Groover Obsession, that is basically an accelerator for the best emerging artists on the platform, people that are our crushes, people that we like, but also that are working well thanks to the data. And what we want to do is to provide them support, care, to find industry partners, and to be one of the industry partners that will be around the artist. So that's one of the main elements of scouting new talents and helping them further. We also have kind of community of network, people that are interested in finding who are the top emerging artists. So people in major labels, people in top industry leaders in the music industry. So people that want to find what is hot on Groover, what is like the last stuff that can be interesting for me. So we have some newsletters, we have some process where we try to share this information with people that can help the artist at the end, because we want to be one of the industry partners on some of the artists. Yeah. So that's the vision of the accelerator behind. So that's the first question. That's how we are detecting the artists and what we want to do with them. And to provide more insights on the data, again, so we have a team that is focusing on data in-house. We have two use of data currently. The first one is what we discussed a bit before, like the recommendation. So guiding the artist through the campaign, helping the artist to choose and to target precisely what are the best curators, professionals that can help them. It's something that is very new actually in the music industry, because it's matching algorithm that is similar to Netflix or Spotify to some extent. That's like the tech behind is similar to that. But the use of that is really focused on the emerging artist and the connection with professional. So that's very interesting in terms of tech, in terms of data, to guide the artist with the right people. And the other thing in terms of data is that, okay, what are the good feedback? What are the scoring of the feedback of the influencers? Or do you qualify the quality of an influencer? Or do you qualify the quality of a release on Groover? What are the hot emerging artists on the platform? So that's all we are mixing the stuff to see trends and to see something that can be valuable on the long run for the artist.
Do you guys ever see yourself becoming almost like your own label?
Yes, that's something that can be a possibility. So labels it's something that is really defined in the music industry. So that's not something that we will be specifically, but when we talk about accelerator, actually it's being the intermediary between something that is all DIY, so do it by yourself, and something that is a label. So we can be a push, a boost, something that can be with some contracts, some deals that can be similar to a label to some extent, but to be more flexible, to handle more artists, to provide services that can be different to what a label is doing with the current model.
I think you are the future of music promotional services, because it's like a decentralized way of really filtering through the ecosystem, making sure everyone gets the feedback that they need, but seeing how it filters out what are really some of the really most impressive content and at the moment. And then also knowing all the most important, in this case, influencers, but really the right people in the industry that people should be connecting with, regardless of what they need, and then putting them in that right direction, and then helping everybody connect with the right people at the right times in a way that's just, it scales. Actually, one of the, I kind of going to go back almost to the very beginning, which is the business model that you guys have set up, which is what you call the insurance. And I'm curious, can you help the audience understand a little bit more about what this means? And then also, how did you decide on this price point about the cost for a review for a song, and how you split up that review against the different parties that facilitate or help with that process?
Yeah, so to go back a bit more on the business model and how we built it at first. So exactly, so it's a marketplace business model to some extent, because we are offering a service to the artist and the representative that is a pay per contact business model. So basically an artist is choosing on the platform a specific number of contacts. It's 2 or 4 euros per contact on the platform. So you choose, let's say 20, 40, 60 people on the platform. In average, the basket is around 50 euros, within the month. So you choose 25 people for a campaign. So that's something around that. And how is it built is that we are building an incentive on the media and the radios on the other side to keep the routine of using Groover on the long run. So each time they're providing a feedback, they get paid half of the amount spent by the artist. So they earn credits that they can convert in euros afterwards. Sometimes the record labels don't want to convert in euros, but they want to reuse the credit within the platform, because some labels on the curator side, on the provider feedback side, want to also be promoters of their own artists. So it's like a win-win situation that is very interesting in the retention loop of the platform. So that's all the business is built. And regarding the insurance part, the first insurance is that you get feedback in 85% case, because what is happening on the platform is that we are ensuring that the answer rate is around 85%. So within the week, you will get a feedback. And if you don't, you get refunded in credits to reuse to connect with other people. So that's very interesting for the artist because the insurance is already there. And when you were asking about like the price point, why is that? Why €2 or €4 or a €50 like campaign? We were building that at first because we noticed that a PR agency is way higher in terms of expenses, €2,000 per month. It's very difficult for an artist, an emerging artist, to have this kind of budget, to be honest. So with a service that can provide the insurance, something that it's very difficult to provide because the insurance of being listened to is something that even the best PR officer can insure to some extent, all the more on a price per contact model. So having a lower price than the current market with also a better insurance was really the way we created a lot of value for the artist community at the very first, because they were seeing that it was a bit higher than doing, like it's a bit more expensive than do it by yourself, because sending an email costs nothing, but you don't get any insurance. But it's way cheaper than hiring a PR officer. So we penetrate the market and the artist services industry in terms of promotion by being an intermediary cost for the artist community.
It's a push of a button to connect with hundreds of people who are incentivized to listen to you. And if they don't, you get your money back. It converts back to credits and you can use that for reaching out to somebody else. And I think that's valuable because whether it's your time as an artist, trying to email someone that costs money to you, or whether it's not, you're actually spending money to try to chat with someone and promote your stuff that's also costly to you. And if that cost is not used in any valuable way and you get no reply, then it's just time wasted, money wasted. I think you guys really found that sweet spot of how to get both parties at the table and actually take and give quality review and connections and make sure that things move smoothly. I think it's really great. I want to take a bigger step back from the product itself, and I only have a couple more questions left. So thank you again for taking so much time. I obviously this past year or so has been absolute chaos with the pandemic, and I'm just curious how has the pandemic affected your industry or your company, and has it?
Yeah, so it was like really a difficult moment for everyone, and of course in the music industry. So what we noticed is like the main impact in the music industry is for sure the live industry, because shows, concert venues, they were like a huge important income for the artists in terms of mix of income. So it was interesting to see that artists were like, the main impact was, I think, that artists needed to redefine themselves, because a lot of artists try to find the right thinking about being either a content provider or something more a performer, that sometimes artists are more performers than content providers. Sometimes they are both, sometimes they are only content providers. And within the end of the shows and the concert venues, it was important to see how the artist community can react and how we can help them. And what we noticed is that actually what was inspiring during this time is that artists kept releasing music a lot. And if you see some data that has been shared publicly by some distribution companies, Believe, CD Baby, Ditto Music, and that kind of actors, that the volume of artists, and all the more in the emerging artist community, of music being released kind of grew by around, I think, something like 15% during both lockdowns. So it's interesting to see that even if it's more difficult to go outside, artists manage to keep releasing sounds, keep releasing music. And for us as a company, in terms of promotion that is fully online, we were one of the main players to help them during the release, because it was way more difficult to promote your music on stage, but you can do it thanks to us, and we can help them to connect more with playlists, with radios, that people who are also online. So you can, at the end, the whole idea is to get your music heard. So if you can do it physically, you need to find ways to do it physically. If you can do it physically, you need to find ways to do it digitally. And all take was to help this during the promotion process. And actually, with the higher volume being released during the pandemic, we see that the resilience and the capacity of the artist to find new tools and find a new resource was inspiring. But yeah, on the long run, obviously, like the end of shows, the end of concert venue is something that is dramatic for the industry. And it's very important to see if there will be a model or something, or at the end of the pandemic, or it will go back. It's, yeah, of course, something very interesting to monitor.
I could only imagine artists now not having to travel or tour or physically be in a variety of different places. I could see how that really gives them the time to think about what is the next art or music that they'd like to create. And I can only imagine having a year time span of really thinking hard about and testing and trying things and producing. You have the more time to, I think, produce more music. And I think that's fantastic. And I'm sure even myself included and everybody is dying and ready to get back to live music performances and concerts. And
yeah,
really, assured that everything, when it can open back up, it will be great again for artists, and maybe even better than what it was before pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
experience.
I hope so.
Yeah. I have one last question here for you, Romain, and thanks again for taking the time to chat with me. Where do you think this process of music creation, or what do you think the future of music promotion is, or where do you think it's going, and what do you see that most people don't?
I think that on our side, we really think that independent artists and independent artist services are the future, because what we noticed and what we think is the current dynamic of the music industry is that we are evolving from a copyright traditional market to an artist services market. And I think that a lot of current strong market dynamic, like the IPO of Believe, or like the acquisition of AWAL by Sony, that was some major events in the music industry, because people that are in the artist services being either acquired by traditional company, major labels, or going public. And I think that what we notice is the macro dynamics, but if you're talking with the artist, it makes a lot of sense, because you see that the artists are more and more independent and want to remain independent. And also you see that the artists are more than ever able to produce music by themselves and to release it by themselves. We think that promotion is the main thing that no one is tackling enough, because it's a tough market. You need to have networks, you need to see people. It's something that has never been scaled properly. It remains really local, really independent, and you don't have a service for promotion that provide enough value for the artist to be reflex. We need to create a reflex for promotion, and that's all our ambition with Groover. And we see that it's more and more something that the artist will need as a service. In the context with the artist services and the independent artist services are taking more and more space, because of the volume and the kind of economic and attention distress that you get as an artist where you are releasing music currently. So yeah, to sum it up, we really think that independent artists are the future. Services are a new way to create value in this industry. And we think that promotion is probably the main market to provide more value to the artists, because it's something that is like a strong need in the artist community, and something that we want to help.
This is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, Romain. And I think there's a great note to end on. And I 100% agree with you. Before I close out, is there any asks or announcements or things you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I was really happy to discuss with you about Groover and about our vision of the music industry. And yeah, so we just communicated on, and you saw it with the video, on Groover Obsession. Our accelerator is kind of flagship of the artists we want to push, to develop. We see they are very inspiring, and we want to help them as much as we can. So if any people want to know more about them, feel free to reach out. And also we will kick off another round of fundraising. I know that you have some people that are investors watching the video potentially. If they are interested in reaching out to, feel free to do.
Fantastic. No, I think this is really great. Romain, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. I know you took a good solid hour of your day, and we went a little bit over time, but I really appreciate it. And again, to recap why we had this conversation, we saw Groover on the outside looking at over 170 companies in a music software and music platform category, and the companies that stood out to us was Groover. And you see the reasons why. You guys recognize this evolution of the music industry, going directly towards independent artists. You're providing tools that really enable artists at even the smallest level to be able to, one, get valuable feedback, have insurance to get noticed, be able to promote their music, and do it in a way that's cost effective and beneficial for both sides of this marketplace that you've created. And you've taken that several steps further, I think, with a variety of different ways in which you're trying to not only identify some of the best artists from the data that you have, but then providing a variety of different services on top of that, promote some of even the best artists. So above and beyond, you found what I think is what you mentioned at the very end, probably one of the most important categories in the future in the evolution of music and artist services, especially for music promotion, one of the hardest categories. You figured it out, you made it simple, it was fantastic. So thank you so much, Romain, for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.